Well, it was nice to get these 4-inch fellies bent for the front wheels on this manure spreader. They're going to end up being 28-inch wheels. I've got to get them out of the band and just do a quick inspection and see if they're really workable. They looked really well, but you don't really know till you get them off of the bands. Well, I really like how these new fellies turned out. There's not a stretch mark in them. They spread out about a 1/2 inch, so they're about 27.5, which makes it nice. I can spread them out for that 28-inch and they'll still be tight up against the spokes. You know, one thing about kiln dried ash, most people will say you can't bend it. Like I say, you can bend it if you steam under pressure and reintroduce that moisture. But the real big advantage of bending kiln dried when you reintroduce that moisture comes out much quicker than a natural moisture would be. If you saw down a green living tree, that can run up to 80% moisture. And if you allow natural ambient climate to release that moisture, it's about a year for every inch thick. But this reintroduced moisture comes out much quicker. So if I put a moisture meter on these now, and it has been 2 days since I bent them, I got sidetracked so I didn't take them out of the forms that same day. But now if I put a moisture meter on them, you're going to see how little moisture there is in these. I'll get this up where hopefully it's visible. But if I take my moisture meter and just check, try to get this where you can see, I touch those 2 probes and I'm getting, it bounces between 10, if I really got to stick it in there, maybe 11%. Try a different spot here. Yeah, there's 11, maybe 12%. That's about where this lumber is naturally out here in Montana anyway. So there's a couple of drawbacks of bending kiln dried. It takes twice as long in the steamer. If you bend green fresh sawn lumber, it's about an hour for every inch thick. When I bend kiln dried, it is 2 hours for every inch thick. But the big plus for me is I can bend these, but within a week that moisture has come back out to where it is, like you can see here, 10-12% moisture, and that's usable, and I go ahead and build my wheels. Otherwise I would have to have a kiln, or for these fellies I would have to wait a 1.5 years if I was to let these dry naturally. So big plus, and there's some cons as well. And if you're going to bend kiln dried, it takes different steaming equipment to get that moisture reintroduced because you have to have pressure. But these are going to work well for the front wheels on this manure spreader. Where these are still just a hair undersized, like say there's 27.5, I want 28. Normally I would tack a board across the bottom to keep them from spreading. They don't seem like they want to spread, so I'm just going to clamp them together to make sure they all stay parallel with each other, and I'll let them set for this week or so until I get my spokes made and can actually start assembling these wheels. These are the hubs that go on to this spreader. This is one of the rear wheels and one of the front wheels. And I have been intending all along to make my own spokes, and there's kind of a reason behind my madness. So this is a common style spoke that would go into a wood hubbed wheel. And you can see the real pronounced throat right here after the tenon that goes into the hub where it comes out. how pronounced that is. Well, the spokes that came out of these spreader wheels doesn't have that same throat. So I want to make a spoke that represents this style and not this style here. And you're probably all well aware that I have a room off to the back corner of my shop here that I put scrap pieces in, and I do somewhat try to keep them sorted out to sizes and length and what all. But I have one area here that is 8/4 predominantly, and in that 1 to 2 foot area. So I end up having lots of pieces that really are usable, and I hate to just put them into the fire, so I stack them back here, and it just grows kind of like mold sometimes. But for spokes, this is going to be just right. I can sort through some of these and turn these into spokes, and it'll help put this to a useful purpose. So I won't really have any expense in materials. It's just going to cost me my time, and like any good farmer, time is cheap when I'm paying for it myself. So the rear wheels have 14 spokes in them, and those spokes need to be about 21.5 to 22 inches. The front wheels only have 10 spokes, and these pieces that are 12 to 13 inches long will work just right for those. Well, this is pretty much just roughing them in, but it does make them all fairly uniform. I have the leading edge, which I marked TP for top. I have it flat, and I have the backside beveled from this 2 1/8 inch down to 1 3/4 inch. And if I lay it on the table saw here, you can see the difference. And I marked my spokes top because when I build the wheels on my stand, I do the dish up, which I call the top of the spoke. So when that is laying on my table saw, the spoke is flat. When I turn it over to the other side, because of the taper in the spoke body, you can see that it picks that spoke up. So the back side of this spoke is creating the dish in this wheel. Well, these back hubs have a tenon that is 2 inch deep and somewhere around that 1 1/8 inch. These cast wedges between the mortises where the spokes go are just like a pie shape. They go back to where they zero out to a point. Well, that inside point is 2 1/4 inches where this tenon and this tenon will come in and meet each other. So I need to make my tenons 2 1/4 inches deep. So from the fence to this edge of the blade, I've got set at 2 1/4. So I'd like to cut these tenons before I do the finish work on these spokes, because I would like this curve of the spoke to come down to the edge of that tenon or within 1/4 inch. So if the tenon is there first, then I know how to do the finish sanding on the rest of the body of the spoke. Well, this whole process of watching me make my own spokes brings up the question, was it worth it? If you look at this in a sense of monetary, no, it is not worth it. I have to do one spoke at a time. It is slow and tedious. I had to hand make my initial pattern. I could buy spokes and pay for the shipping to get them here and be cheaper financially. And that's generally what I do. But this particular project of this manure spreader, I wanted this particular style, and bottom line, I wanted to do it. So was it worth it in that regard? To me, it is worth it. I get what I want. I have no cost of materials. It costs me my time, but my value system, bottom line, was I wanted to make them. So was it worth it? To me, it's worth it. Financially, was it worth it? Absolutely not. If I had to charge a customer for the amount of time that I spent to make these spokes, they would be appalled. Well, I can go buy them cheaper than that. Absolutely right, you could. But that's not where my value system is in this project. So anyway, my homemade copy lathe, my having to shape these out by hand, do all my floating out my curves and getting what I want, financially was not worth it. But satisfying to me that I did this whole project was worth it. So anyway, don't take this video as this is how you make spokes. That wasn't the purpose of it. Anyway, I enjoyed doing it, so to me it was worth it. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.